chapter 8. This is where I feel like the first step of adulthood meets the end of childhood. This is where the story becomes even more interesting. This is where my life becomes even more interesting. Love. I think it's a subject none of us fully comprehend the meaning of it. All of us have some kind of idea of how love should be, how we should feel while we are in love. That's just pretty normal. How I felt about love. I hated it. I remember praying for years that God would help, that God would keep me as a child and that I would never grow up. I just had almost like not a premonition, but it's like I knew that as soon as a child, but especially a girl, grew up and love became involved in life, or our understanding of love or lack thereof, we were going to shift in our way of thinking, and I was going to lose something that it was extremely precious to me, and it's called innocence. I really did not want to lose that, and I never saw a way. I'm not sure if I even see it now, where you can be an adult and have full innocence. The innocence of a child, innocence that I'm talking about. And why? It's because life tends to throw at us, at least at me, I don't know about you, but at me, such unexpected curves. And I really am not ignorant enough to know that everybody goes through that, where what you thought was going to happen, it just doesn't happen. What you never dreamed was going to happen, it does happen. And it takes one, through this such unprepared phase. And I know I really did not want to enter love, the consequences of that, the intricacies of that, the hardships of that, the just mystery of love. I just wanted to keep it simple and innocent. Nonetheless, love entered my life as well. I love this chapter. I love this chapter more because it starts with how my father thinks about love and what he thinks, not about love for him, but for his daughters. And it shows a side of my father being protective that maybe we haven't seen it so up to this point. And I love that about him. And I loved that when the time in the past when we had this conversation and he was on my side, I felt like, yes, I have somebody on my side. My mom was absolutely on the other extreme. If my father was on one extreme, my mother was on the other extreme, and she really wanted to see me married off, preferably well financially, but just married off as soon as possible, not to get rid of me, but culturally, after, like, if you hit 20 or 21, from that point on you're considered more of an old maid, and chances of one getting married were just dramatically reduced. So you really had in between the ages of 17 to 20, 21, which is like what, 3-4 years, so not that long. And of course she wanted to see me married well off, so I could have a easier life than she had. And that's the heart of a mother. it's wanting something like that for her daughter, wanting the best for her children. And but me and her were not at all in alignment at the subject. I really did not want to have absolutely anything to do with boys on any level, except my brothers. And I was happy with that. I'm like, as long as I had my brothers, that's all the male interaction I needed in my entire life. And I really did not care. I really, really, really did not care about any other male interest. If I saw a boy starting to be interested in me, I dreaded that. I just dreaded. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna come and he's gonna try to find excuses to be close to me all the time, teach me this, that, and the other, who knows what. And I also did not like to be mean to them, but I was very cold. I was like, wouldn't look at them and kind of like give them the cold shoulder. And as it's like a language as non-verbal as possible to show them, go away, I'm not interested. So the first time I fell in love was, I'm not sure if I was 17 or 18 exactly, but it was with a boy from the local church that we were going, and it was his dimples that got me right away, and it was his shyness that really attracted. It was like it sucked me to him, just seeing him so shy. And of course, oh yeah, and I always talk to God. That's a very important piece of my life. I always talk to God. I always tell everybody I'm a very poor prayer person. Like if I were to pray, I do not have these intricate words of prayer, and my head kind of goes blank. And because for me, I just feel like, I don't know, I just never been good. But I always talked to God as if he was right next to me, and the two of us were just like buddies. And I always talked to him, and he, as long as I remember, talked back. Not all the time. There are times that he just wouldn't talk, and it's frustrating when you do the monologue thing. But in this case, he advised me and warned me, do not get attached, because he's not the one for you. And I had a couple of crushes before him, but they were not. It was nothing serious. It was just more, yeah, he's cute. What do you think, God? And he would say no, and I'm like, yep, let's move on. Not with this boy. God kept warning me, no, and I just like blah 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 blah. I can't hear you. Bottom line, that's pretty much, I did not want to hear from God. And he was, at this point, not just a friend, it was like a pestering presence that just wouldn't go away. And he kept saying, no, no, no. And I kept saying, la 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 la, I don't want to hear. That was pretty much what's going on through that time. I fell for this boy, I fell pretty hard. And is that like, I don't know, love at first sight, or not love at first sight, it wasn't, but just maybe the first love or something like that, because I felt certain things that I never thought it was possible to feel, because I felt such dramatic emotions before, like towards the opposite sex. There was a lot of hatred and a lot of, just everything that is associated with hatred and bitterness and all that stuff, and not for this boy. And that was surprising to me, that actually I could feel those emotions. So that was a little bit of time where I had to go and kind of really, that was shocking that I actually felt those kind of emotions. So that being said, we're moving on. Because he was shy and because of the cultural thing, I didn't really approach him to ask for friendship or anything like that. That would have be considered too bold, and I would have been seen maybe like a trashy girl if I would have done that, and I did not want to do that. So I was kind of waiting for him to to do something, because we started to kind of flirt visually, but it was nothing else going on. So it just kept dragging on month after month that he just didn't do anything. We were also part of the choir, went into this particular village where we visited the church of the village, and we brought with us, of course, poems and poetry and songs and people that preached and all that. It was like a visitation choir, you know, our church's choir visiting another church, and it was more of a larger village. It was in a small village. And right at the end of the service, I'm going out with Ika, at the time a really good friend of mine, and we're going out, and she's coming, and I tell, you know, anyway, short story, because you guys are gonna read and be able to see that she's introducing this boy to me who apparently was interested in me, and then I found out a little bit more details. He was living in Austria, which that meant my future was going to be better off than a guaranteed poverty future with not enough food or clothing, or, you know, so that's what it meant. If he comes from Austria, that means, in our way of thinking, is I would live a rich life for the rest of my life. And that was something that any girl dreamed of, to be able to marry somebody, or somebody be interested into, you know, into her, or be interested enough to want to marry a girl. So that would have been any girl's dream, to want to marry somebody that was well off, whether he was in Romania, but how much more if he lived in a different country, especially like a westernized country, where you knew for sure your life was going to be set. So and his name was Don. Yes. So Don is introduced right now into the equation of my life. And then I know he was asking me, he really wanted a serious relationship. He did make it clear from the beginning what he wanted, and I agreed more because I never thought he was going to go anywhere. So that's wrapping up the chapter of love starts in my life, I guess, or the consequences of love, and we will move on with chapter 9, I believe. Bye.